This is a show that brings to the forefront newsmakers, entertainers, and those making a difference in our lives and in our world. Each week is a new adventure with topics ranging from the most serious and cutting edge to the most lighthearted and entertaining.
This is Taking Care of Business with Richard Solomon.
Greetings, everyone. This is Richard Solomon, Taking Care of Business. If you want to be the happiest at the happiest place on earth, you need to talk to Eric Paul. Eric Paul is with us this week, and he is with bestdisneytrips.com. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. You have so basically you're a concierge for Disney trips, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right. Disney can kind of be overwhelming to people out there who are planning a trip because there's so many food options. There's so many entertainment options. There's so many places to stay and how to get there and whether you hop from park to park and which characters to see. How do you help people navigate all of that?
Well, you're exactly right, Rich. You know, the number one word I always use with Disney is overwhelming. It's a very overwhelming place. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. So we really try and help people kind of navigate through all of that to give them the best trip and best experience that they could possibly have. In doing that, there's just a lot of questions that have to be asked, and we go really in depth with all our clients because obviously every family is different. I've never done a concierge service for any family that's been exactly the same as anybody else. I've done all types of families, all boys, all girls, large groups, 15 people, 30 people. I once did a 70-year-old couple. So we really have, worked with all different types of sizes and, different types of likes and dislikes. And, we really try and cater everyone's trips to exactly what it is they're looking for, and most importantly, what their kids are looking for, because most people are obviously going there for their kids.
What is the youngest age to actually have someone go to Disneyland, Disney World, and really get something out of it? There's a lot of questions that I get a lot. This is one of them. It's funny. I always tell people I'm the wrong person to ask because when I've always gone to Disney, I've always gone for me. I've taken my kids when they were 3 months old, 6 months old. But for a younger family, I'd say, probably 2 to 3 is when they'll really, start to kind of get enjoyment out of it. That's not to say that, a 1-year-old can't enjoy it because obviously, seeing all the characters and everything and, there's just so much going on, parades and fireworks and shows and all that kind of stuff. But I'd probably say 2 and 3 is probably the perfect age to at least start thinking about a trip to Disney. Now, when you start thinking about a trip to Disney, how far in advance is the ideal starting point?
Depends on the time of year that you want to go. But I will always tell people, if you can give me at least 6 months notice, that at least will help me to get you pretty much everything that you want to do. And by that I mean the dining reservations. Dining is a huge part of Disney, and Disney lets people start making dining reservations 180 days in advance. And with that, it includes all of the princess character meals, which are probably the most popular things there, as well as what they call the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, which is the princess dress up for all the girls. So those reservations can start being made 6 months in advance. So if I had my choice with all my clients, I would say I would love for you to book six months out. That's not to say that I can't plan you a great trip with less notice. I can. I mean, I've had people call me on a Wednesday saying that they want to go that weekend, and we'll just do the best we can, and make them the best possible trip, with whatever time that we have.
How far out does Disney allow you to reserve into the future?
So that also kind of depends on the time of year. A couple of months ago, they basically released all of the nightly rates for all the rooms for all of 2018. So probably somewhere about the end of the summer is when we can book for the entire following year. But Disney tends to come out with different promotions as you get closer. So like for right now, we're basically working on promotions that kind of run into the spring. But even for people that want to book, for next fall or next winter, we always encourage them, let us book you a room just to hold it. And it's really a minimal amount to hold it. With any Disney package, they only require a $200 deposit that's fully refundable just to hold a room, and then we can make any sort of changes to that, as we get closer to it. So once promotions come out, we'll always work with our clients to try and have their Disney packages repriced depending on what promotions have kind of come out. But to answer your question, really depends on the time of year. But for the most part, it's typically about a year in advance. I'd say probably 12 to 14, 16 months in advance.
I guess certain times of the year have tremendous demand. The spring break time, the Christmas winter break time. What are the ones that you can share with us that you really need to be on top of to really make sure you can, if you're at a high demand time? What are those times? Yeah,
so the busiest times of the year are exactly what you said, which are basically the break weeks that kind of run with the schools in the Northeast, which are Christmas week, Thanksgiving week, Easter week, and also the February break. Those weeks will always be the busiest of any year. So I typically get people for those weeks booking probably closer to a year out, even 8 to 10 months out. Just to ensure that we get the hotel that they want and the room that they want, and so on and so forth. That's not to say that, even, now we're in December. I mean, I'm getting calls for people that want to go in February. And there's still plenty of availability. It just might not be the exact hotel or the exact room that they want. But, Disney does a great job, with all of their properties. And, I always tell people, cause we're always deciding between different properties and, benefits of one over another. And I always tell people, look, I go, when you're staying at a Disney property, you're going to be happy. It's just, there's little types of advantages to some over another. It could be a location. It could be transportation. It could be pools, activities, things like that.
Do you remember the first time you went to Disney?
I grew up on Long Island and, pretty much lived there for the first 40 years of my life. But I do. I mean, I always remember because I had family down in Florida, and I want to say I was probably 3 or 4. I mean, from there I was just kind of hooked. I mean, I always joke with people, I can go to an all-day insurance seminar if it was on a ride, just because I just think rides are the greatest invention, because it can make the most, uninteresting thing just seem a lot of fun. And so I just loved amusement parks. And then I happened to go, I went to college down in Miami, so we went a lot when I was in college. And then once I met my wife, and then we started to have a family, I mean, we were going once or twice a year. So, we've been quite a lot. Now we actually live down in Boca Raton, so we go probably, 6-7 times a year, pretty much any chance we get. And, my kids, having been raised in a very Disney family, it doesn't take much to get them to say, or to convince them to say, hey, you guys want to go to Disney this weekend? It's obviously, they're basically in the car before I finish the sentence.
Just in terms of getting a feel for the whole experience, how big is Disney? I don't know. How many parks? What's the square mileage? If you can tell me. I know it's really, really, loaded with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. There's 4 main parks: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom. There's 2 water parks, which are Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. There's an entire shopping and dining district, which is now called Disney Springs. For people that have gone to Disney for a long time, that was the area that used to be known as Downtown Disney and Pleasure Island. And then they just keep building on from there. There's actually now an ESPN wide world of sports there, where the Atlanta Braves have played their spring training games. It's really a massive property with, as you said, there's just so much to do that you could really cater any length of trip to and you'll always be doing something different. It's really incredible.
How many different hotels are on the property?
Oh man.
Roughly. Is it like a dozen, 2 dozen?
There's definitely over a dozen. There's probably somewhere close to 20, maybe even more. And Disney just announced this year that they're building even more. They're building a Star Wars hotel. They're building a new property for their vacation club properties. They're actually building large additions to 2 of their moderate properties, which are Caribbean Beach and Coronado Springs. So they just don't stop, and I think it's just only going to enhance the family experience, because they're just adding to everything that they do, whether it be at the amusement parks, at the hotels, dining, shopping. It's really just it's been an incredible place, but it's going to be even more incredible even a year from now, 2 years from now.
Do they still have raw land to expand into, or are they maxed out?
I don't think that they're maxed out. It definitely doesn't seem that they are, because there is still a lot of land. At least when I go and visit, I see a lot of land. So I don't think that they're maxed out yet.
Because it's fascinating. When you go to Disney today and you compare it to, 20 years ago, what's the evolutionary changes you've witnessed in either the technology of the rides, or the way they manage crowds, or the way they flow the traffic through the park and organize things? What have you noticed that's changed a lot?
Obviously the technology changes, always. Now you're seeing more, 3D, 4D type of experiences there. And kind of everything else you said, I think is hitting it right on the head. I think just the overall experience is probably the thing that I notice that just keeps getting, better and better. Obviously with the technology, now obviously Disney has their own app where you can actually see the wait times of the rides up to the second. So, back when I was a kid, or even 5 or 10 years ago, it was like, okay, if I'm on one side of the park and I want to see what the wait is for Space Mountain, I had to run over to the other side of the park. Now I could be on a ride and I could be looking at my app and say, okay, well, there's only a 10-minute wait for, Thunder Mountain or whatever ride you're looking for, and you're already planning your next move while you're currently on a ride. And I think that alone sort of, kind of changed the game for a lot of families, because, you're no longer guessing. You actually, even though you have to have a plan in place, and that's kind of where we kind of step in, but even having a plan, at least now you're kind of working with a lot more up to the minute, info to help you basically plan your day in the most efficient way possible.
I've heard from all kinds of people that the app is a critical component to the experience. Is that true?
Definitely, absolutely.
So what does the app do other than tell you the waiting times for rides? What else?
Well, so Disney has a website and an app. It's called My Disney Experience. That's kind of the hub for your entire Disney vacation. It's got your hotel information on it. It's got your ticket information on it. It's got your fast passes. It's got your dining reservations. It's got your memory maker, which is basically Disney's photo pass service. Everything's kind of linked there. So, not only can you use it as your guide for the day, just so you know what you have planned and where and at what times, but when you need to make more fast passes, whereas you used to have to just go to a physical line and wait for a ticket, now you can actually do it on the app. So, similar to what I said before, Disney gives you 3 fast passes that you're allowed to book in advance. And if you're staying on property, they let you reserve it 60 days in advance. If you're staying off property, it's 30 days in advance. But basically, you're allowed to make 3 reservations ahead of time. Once you've checked in for that third ride or that third show or whatever your third fast pass is, that's when you're allowed to then make your 4th fast pass. And now, this technology has only been out for a few months, because you used to have to go to a kiosk, but now it's basically on the app on your phone. So while you're on that ride or at that show, and you've checked in and scanned through your 3rd fast pass, now you're making your 4th fast pass. And again, I go back to the up to the minute technology, because now you're using the app to say, okay, here's what the wait times look like right now. And oh, by the way, I can make a fast pass for this ride in 20 minutes or 30 minutes instead of waiting 2 hours or whatever the wait might be.
So does that explain why when someone's on the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, they lose their phone because they're reloading their app?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens.
All right. This is Richard Solomon. My very special guest is Disney expert Eric Paul. His website is bestdisneytrips.com. He has an email, which is journey365@yahoo.com if you want to send him a question directly. And you can give him a call at 516-551-8053. He is a wealth of information, and he is an incredible wealth of knowledge. We'll be right back. Keep it locked in at Taking Care of Business with Richard Solomon and Eric Paul.
Hey, this is Jeff Mattson, the Dark Star Orchestra, and you're listening to Richard Solomon on WCWP 88.1 FM.
All right, welcome back. Richard Solomon with Disney expert Eric Paul at bestdisneytrips.com, and he's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll give you all that contact information shortly. What I want to kind of guide the listeners through is the experience that they get when they call you. So let's say, for example, it's 181 days from today, and I want to go to Disney because I heard from the radio show that it was at least 180 days that I had before they opened up the reservations for all the food. So in 1 day from tomorrow, plus 6 months, I'm going to be down in Orlando. I've got my suntan lotion. I've got my bathing suit. I got my flip-flops. But that's all I have. That's all I have. What do we need to do to explore the options and, guide me through the really cool concierge service that you provide?
Sure. Well, let me first take a step back and kind of tell you what the concierge service actually does. So there's a couple different components of it. Number one are the dining reservations, which you just spoke about, that you can book 180 days in advance. Number two are the fast pass reservations, which, as we said before, if you're staying on property, 60 days in advance. If you're staying off property, 30 days in advance. And then after that, we specialize in working with really any type size of family or group to help you with private character experiences, private dining experiences, getting special cakes for special occasions, doing private tours, private safaris, all different things like that. But really the biggest part of the concierge service is we actually provide every family with a very detailed itinerary that's customized per family, that where we actually will go and we will plan every day for you that you're in the park from the minute you walk in until the minute you leave. And what I explain to people with that is no itinerary that I've ever done has ever been exactly the same. And they're always quite lengthy because we are literally planning every minute of every hour for you. So we will have multiple conversations to talk about your family, kids, heights, likes, dislikes, all the characters they want to see, the shows, the rides, all that good stuff, and then putting that all together and coming up with a cohesive plan for that day. And for certain parks like Hollywood Studios that mostly have a lot of live shows where you're really bound by show times, we'll actually plan the day for you and tell you, at 9:40 I want you to go to the Disney Junior show, and then at 10:30 you're going to this ride, and at 1 o'clock you're going to the Beauty and the Beast live show, or what have you. So the itinerary is really the main part of the concierge service. It's also the very end of kind of what we do because, we start talking to clients 6 months to a year before their trip. And then right at that 6 month mark, we are discussing dining. Then between 6 months and 2 months before, we are talking about rides and shows and, basically structuring the days for you. And then those last 2 months is really what we spend on building that itinerary for the client. And they're very, very lengthy. In fact, a lot of our clients are quite shocked when we send it to them because I don't think that a lot of them realize exactly what it is. And I'll just kind of give you an example. But for an average trip where you're going maybe to the park for 4 or 5 days, the itinerary will be anywhere between 25 and 30 pages long. So it's definitely, it's packed with information, and it really exists for you to, I always like people to kind of look at it beforehand. I don't expect anyone to read all of it or memorize it, but just kind of to, thumb through it and just get an idea for how it works. But the idea that I have for it is that once you enter the park on day one, you're turning to that day in the guide, and it's almost like I'm there with you, and it's telling you exactly what to do and kind of where to go. Because the main thing about Disney is, number one, you have to have a plan. Number two is there's definitely a process and a flow for every park, and that process is really crucial to making sure that you have the most efficient day. I don't ever want to have people that are kind of running from one side of the park to the other and back and forth, because these parks are big. Obviously depending on the time of year that you go, it could be hot, and it's a lot of walking. These are the kinds of trips when you want to bring your Fitbit, and you'll kind of look at it at the end of the day, and you'll be really amazed with kind of how much you walk that day.
And is this like at 180 days? Is that when you send the email to the parents saying, have your kids start going to the treadmill in the gym, getting ready?
Exactly. Absolutely. You definitely want to work out before. That's without a doubt. And it's actually it's not a bad excuse, for while you're there to kind of eat whatever you want, because you will definitely walk off a lot of calories while you're there.
So, could you describe the itinerary time? Is it like 8.5 by 11? Is it 5 by 7?
Oh no, yeah, no, it's 8.5 by 11. It's regular letter size paper.
And do you just bring the day with you as opposed to the whole week?
That's a funny question. I have some people who they'll actually rip out the pages, the 4 or 5 pages for that day. I have other people who literally tell me that the guide, it is their Bible, and they don't let it out of their hands. So for everybody, it's kind of a personal preference. Some people want to follow it to the exact exact detail that we have. Whereas other people just kind of want an idea. Okay, I'm going to Tomorrowland first, and then I'm going to Fantasyland, or however we've structured the day for them.
So how do you balance, or what is the interplay between your itinerary and the Disney app? So do I have like the itinerary in the left hand and the app in the right hand, and I guess a charging cord in my belt or something like that?
Yeah, well, look, other than the exact wait times of that minute of that day, everything that's kind of in the app is already in your itinerary. All your FastPass information's there, all your dining information's there. Anything else that you will really need for the day is there. The only thing that we can't predict ahead of time, obviously, is what the exact wait times will be for all the rides. Now, we have a lot of experience in booking trips basically for any time of year. So we kind of know on average, what the wait times are for pretty much every ride, whether it's a vacation week or whether it's the middle of January. But that being said, I can't predict if a ride will break down, or, if for some reason one particular ride just maybe got really busy very, very early. That's really the only thing that I think you kind of need the app for, is just to get those up to the minute wait times. And then of course, making your additional fast passes once you've used the first 3 that we've already made for you.
Your information kind of sparked a question, which is, what is the rainiest time of the year, or rainiest times?
The rainiest times, definitely, the hotter times in Florida. So the summer months and kind of September. That's, but those are also the times where, it might rain really, really heavy for like an hour, but then it'll be fine the rest of the day. But obviously those hotter, Florida months are definitely the rainier times.
What's your ideal time to go?
I love that question. I get people that not only ask me that question, but they already have, sort of ideas in their head, whether it be from friends of theirs or family members that have already gone, or things they've read on the internet. I've had people tell me, I heard you have to go in the beginning of December, or you should never go to the Magic Kingdom on the weekend, or you should or you should never go to the Magic Kingdom on a Monday. I mean, I hear all sorts of crazy, crazy things. The only thing I tell people is this. I go, it's Disney World. It's busy 365 days of the year. There's definitely times where it's what I'll call ludicrous busy, and those are the vacation weeks, which we've already spoken about. But I really can't say that there's a benefit to going at some time of the year over another, because the truth is Disney's really figured everything out. They, it used to be kind of early December and early January were the better times to go, but now Disney has the Christmas party in December, and that attracts a lot of crowds, and then in January now they're doing this whole Broadway thing with Epcot, and then after that is the Flower and Garden Festival, and there's always things going on. So I mean, I just tell people, I always say, go whenever it's the most convenient for you. I get a lot of people who, maybe they're teachers, or obviously they can only go during the breaks or over the summer, because of the kids. But for the most part, I just really try to plan them the best vacation I can, for whenever it is that they are able to go. And to be completely honest with you, the hardest thing that I've seen nowadays is really the airfare. A lot of times, the air, which used to be, $200 to $300 a ticket, now I'm seeing flights for February and April where people are paying between $500 and $800, for a round trip ticket. And that obviously is kind of a game changer for a lot of customers that are trying to work within a specific budget. So that's why I always tell people, tell me what is the ideal time for you to go, for whatever reason, whether it's the kids or whether it's the time you can get off of work, and we'll make, the best trip possible.
Let's talk about food, because food's always, a fun topic. What are the different kinds of food options, and what do you like? And what do you recommend?
Dining happens to be my favorite part of Disney. First thing is, I always tell my clients, and I really mean this when I say to them, I said, I can talk to you about Disney 24 hours a day. So if you have a question, you can email me, you can text me. It doesn't matter how early, how late. I could talk Disney all day long. When I'm at home and not doing work stuff, I'm either on two websites. I'm either on a Disney website or I'm on an ESPN website. So anything to do with those two topics, I could talk about all day long. And especially with Disney, I love the food and dining there. I'm kind of shocked by some people that sort of come in with the notion that it's an amusement park and the food is not going to be good. And while that could be the case for some other parks, and that we could go into a whole other show about that, but Disney has so many great restaurant options that, to be honest, unless you're going for two full weeks, I mean, there's just not enough time to kind of visit all of them. And now one of the most popular times of the year to go to Disney is between September and mid-November because of the Epcot International Food Festival. It's actually called the Food and Wine Festival, which is an unbelievable food and wine experience where, Epcot kind of has two different parts to it. It has a part called Future World, which kind of has all of their rides and attractions. And then the second part is called World Showcase, which is where they have all the different countries. And during the Food and Wine Festival, all those countries sort of set up these little kiosks right outside basically the main pavilion of each country, where they'll serve, any little kind of tapas, anything from like a $5 to $8 item, as well as, whatever the popular beverage from that particular country might be. Germany will have their beers and Italy has their wines and so on and so forth. But in addition to that, you have other countries that don't have pavilions within Epcot. They actually set up their own booths there as well. So you could literally just walk your way around World Showcase during the Food and Wine Festival and just eat your way through it. The best part about it is it's not a separate ticket in order to get into it. You just need to have a ticket to get into Epcot, and then once you're there, you can just kind of walk through it, and then you will pay for kind of whatever you eat and drink. But as I said, everything there is pretty much in that $5 to $8 range. But if you happen to be on the dining plan, there's a lot of those items that you can actually use your snacks from the dining plan for, which we could have an entire show just in the dining plan.
I have to. I can imagine that you're very full at the end of the show. At the end of the day when you do the international food thing, because I've covered the international food shows at the Javits Center in New York. And literally, you do eat your way from, left to right, north to south.
Yep, absolutely.
And I usually end the show with, "Okay, we're full. We can't eat anything else. We're really done." Not even like a tea or anything like that.
Right. Exactly.
We only have a couple of minutes left in this segment, but talk to me about this whole food program with the snacks and the meals. We may start this and then continue it to the third segment. But how does that work?
So Disney has a great dining plan. They have a couple different options. They have a quick service option. They have what they call a standard dining plan, and then they have a deluxe dining plan. Most of my clients will do what's called the standard dining plan, so that's kind of what I'll focus on. And with that plan, it's actually done by the number of nights that you go. And so for every night that you go, every person in your party will get one table service meal, one quick service meal, and 2 snacks per person per night. And what that means is a table service meal is any restaurant where you have a waiter or waitress. A quick service meal is like a fast casual type of a place where you would walk up to a counter, you would order your food, they would hand it to you, and then you would go and sit down and eat it. Snacks can really be anything, and there's literally hundreds of different things that you can use snacks for. It could be a popcorn, it could be a water, it could be a soda, a pretzel, ice cream, bagels, muffins, yogurt, fruit, candy. One of my personal favorites, which is called a Dole Whip, which is an ice cream and pineapple drink beverage that is very, very popular for anyone that frequents Disney. But there's literally hundreds and hundreds of things that you can use snacks on. Now, what I love about the dining plan is, and we not only book Disney, but we're a full service agency and we book people all around the world. And there's all different types of resorts that have different dining plans. And people that go to these resorts, they're kind of used to, with those types of dining plans where you're restricted to certain restaurants. And when you get to that restaurant, it's a special menu. Disney has completely done away with that, and they make it very easy. It's all the restaurants, with the exception of like one or two, which is like Il Molino and a couple others that are in some of the off-property hotels. But it's pretty much every restaurant in all the parks, in all the hotels, and in Disney Springs. And it's the same menu that everyone else gets. The only difference is you've paid for your food in advance. So when you sit down at a meal, the waiter or waitress will always ask you two questions to start. They're going to ask you, do you have any allergies or dietary restrictions? And then they're going to ask you, are you on the dining plan? And the only reason they're asking that is so they know whether you've already paid for it or if they have to sort of bill you a la carte. And basically, when you're on the dining plan and you're at a table service restaurant, if it's not a buffet, they'll just say, okay, with the dining plan, you can get any entree, you can get any non-alcoholic beverage or alcoholic beverage, and any dessert.
All right, hold it right there. We'll be right back. Rich Solomon, Eric Paul, bestdisneytrips.com.
Hi, this is Rory Cosgrove, and you're listening to Rich Solomon on WCWP 88.1 FM.
All right, welcome back, Disney fans. Richard Solomon, Eric Paul, bestdisneytrips.com. I didn't mean to cut him off for that last segment, but there's so much to talk about. Real fast, in case you wanted to know this quick contact information, it's bestdisneytrips.com. His email, Eric's email, is journey365@yahoo.com. His phone number is 516-551-8053. All right, so we're talking about Disney dining. Oh, by the way, you can catch them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Look under Journey365 Travel in Facebook. Twitter, it's Journey365. So the wait staff will come up to you and they'll say, are you allergic to anything? Do we need to know any restrictions? And are you on the plan? So then what happens?
Right. So just from there, it really just means that you've sort of paid for your food in advance. And, there's a lot of benefits to the dining plan. And as I said, I'm a huge fan of the dining plan. I always tell my clients that, whenever I go, I always use it just because I think it's really easy. And I think that if you know how to use it and you use it the right way, it could actually save you, about maybe 10 to 20%, also. And, I get into a lot of discussions with people about the dining plan and sort of the pros and the cons. And, one of the most common, comments I get from a lot of parents are, my kids are sort of picky eaters and, I don't know if it's going to be worth it for us. And, what I always say is this is, even though I'm a huge fan of the dining plan, I sort of base everything around the dining reservations that we make for clients. So for right now, for this year and for 2018, it's roughly about $25 to $26 a night for a child for the dining plan. But what I try and explain to people is, and that might seem a lot because if you're just buying, a kid's meal at the park, for 2 or 3 meals, it might be less than that. But if you're going to do any of these, character dining experiences, any of these character breakfasts, I mean, it's anywhere between $25 and $33 for a child just to eat at that one meal. So if you're going to have a character breakfast or a character dinner, that $25, $26 a night that you've paid for the entire day for that child, you're already getting your value just from that one meal, because all you're doing is basically using your table service meal for that $25 or $26 that when you get to the restaurant costs that or a couple of dollars more, plus the child is going to get an additional quick service meal and 2 snacks for that day. So that's, just one of the things that I really like about the plan. But as I said, I always book reservations first, and then from that, I cater the dining plan around that. And that's because sometimes I get people that even say to me, oh, I think we want the deluxe meal plan. And the only difference between the deluxe and the standard plan is with the deluxe plan, they're giving you 3 meals per person per night. And then you can decide what that is. If you want to do 3 sit-down meals in one day, that's fine. If you want to do 2 sit-down meals and 1 quick service, that's fine too. But I'll sometimes talk a lot of clients out of the deluxe plan just because I'll explain to them that, you might be going for 4 nights and maybe you have 5 restaurants reserved, so you'll have to pay out of pocket for one of them. Well, for you to pay out of pocket for that one meal might only cost you $150 for your whole family, but for me to upgrade you to the deluxe plan might cost you an additional $400 or $500. So, we use a lot of, obviously a lot of math whenever we are, recommending to clients which dining plan that they should do. But for the most part, it's the standard plan and then paying out of pocket for, an extra meal or two if they have to.
What are your favorite restaurants?
For me, everything sort of revolves around a place called Ohana, which is in the Polynesian. For any clients or any of my family or friends, I mean, they know that's my end all be all for all the Disney restaurants. In fact, whenever I go, I normally post pictures on our Facebook or just blogging of pretty much every course that we eat, and friends of mine do the same as well. Just because we all love it so much. It's a really great restaurant. It's a Hawaiian themed restaurant. It's good for kids because they normally have like a ukulele player walking around and he or she does games with the kids and gives them lays and stuff. And then with the food, it's a lot of like Pan-Asian type of appetizers, pot stickers, honey chicken wings, the best lo mein I've ever had in my life, stir-fried vegetables, stuff like that. And then for dinner, it's almost like going to a Brazilian steakhouse where they come around with different meats on skewers. It's normally like a steak and a chicken, sometimes pork, and then usually shrimp. And then for dessert, they give you this incredible bread pudding with this hot bananas Foster sauce.
Oh, wow.
As I said, I could talk for hours on dining, just because I love the restaurants at Disney that much. But Ohana is one of my favorites. I love California Grill, which is on top of the Contemporary, is very good. There's a new restaurant, or I should say a newer restaurant in Animal Kingdom called Tiffin's that's very good. There's another Pan-Asian restaurant in Animal Kingdom called Yak and Yeti, which is one of my hidden gems. It's a restaurant that not that many people know about. If people are, taking trips there and they read things on the internet, it might not be a restaurant that they either hear of or that their friends have told them about. But anyone that goes there really, really loves it. It's got really great food. After that, my family also loves the 50s Diner in Hollywood Studios, which is a great Disney experience restaurant. I get a lot of that also from people. A lot of my customers, when they go to Disney, even though they want to eat good food, they want to go to a restaurant that's an experience. They don't want to go to a restaurant, especially people that are coming from New York. I could send them to a couple of good Italian restaurants on Disney property, but you have that in New York. They want to go to a restaurant where, and it's not just characters, but any kind of experience. And the 50s Diner is a great experience restaurant. It's set up like being in someone's house in the 50s. When you sit in the waiting room, you're actually sitting, it looks like you're sitting in someone's living room. When they come to seat you at your table, they'll say, for my family, they'll say, Paul Kids, dinner, and they'll bring you into the restaurant. And then my children's favorite part about the restaurant is all the waiters and waitresses there are sort of playing a part as a mom or dad from the 50s. So they're going to tell you to get your elbows off the table. They're going to tell you to eat your vegetables. They're going to, and the funny thing is they're all the sweetest people, but they're playing this part. And, sometimes, you might ask them something and, they'll come back with like a quick remark, but it's all in good fun. But it's a really, really fun atmosphere. It's comfort food, fried chicken, pot roast, meatloaf, salmon, stuff like that. So it's, the food is good. And it's, as I said, it's just a great experience restaurant.
When I go, should I slouch or something just to just to invoke the experience?
Yeah, well, my wife was actually texting on her phone once, and they made her stand in the corner with her nose to the wall. So yeah, you got to be careful because they will definitely call you out. And again, stuff like that, when you're doing that to a parent, the kids just love it. And not only that, but the people that are there are great, and they've been there for years. I mean, when my oldest is now 12, and when he was about 3 or 4, we actually went there, and we actually took a picture with the waitress when my oldest was, I think, 4, and my younger one was 2. And just last summer, we went back, and she's still there, and we took another picture with my kids, who instead of being 2 and 4 are now 12 and 10, and now I have a 7-year-old, and she actually posted it on her Facebook page, both pictures. So
that's really cool.
And that's just the type of experience you get at Disney. It's just a fun place and a great place, and the cast members there are really, really amazing, and they all go out of their way to basically make it as fun of an experience for every single person that walks through those gates as they can.
All right, we don't have a lot of time left, which is shocking. Let's do kind of a lightning round. What are the things that we didn't cover that people really need to know or really need to ask? Of you.
We basically start with people. When I get clients, they always want to talk about rides, and to me, rides are the last thing because I need to do the hotel first. I need to do the dining first. So. And I always tell people, don't worry about the rides. We'll get to all that. And so we always try and structure it around, first of all, how many people, what type of accommodations are you looking for? Do you want 1 room? Do you need 2 rooms? Are you looking for a hotel that has, things to do there? I have plenty of people that just kind of want a room to stay at because they don't plan to be at the room. I have other people who, they need to structure sort of some pool time either every day or maybe a pool day in the middle. So that's kind of how we start with it. Other than that, it's more, how many days are you looking to go? How many parks do you want to do? And we can help answer all those questions, but a lot of times people kind of already know. My favorite type of customer are the people that call me and they say, we want to go to Disney and we literally know nothing. That's the easiest customer for me just because, we know the questions to ask and we know how to structure these trips. And just so that, that we make sure that they're going to experience everything that they want to and to ensure that they have the best time possible.
What are the misconceptions you come across?
The misconceptions, again, I think we already touched on this, is, the number one thing I hear is people that think that the food there is not going to be good, which couldn't be further from the truth. The other thing I think people don't really realize is, I think it goes back to, the whole that they have to go to certain parks on certain days. Or the other big one, I should say, is Disney has something which is called extra magic hours, which if you're staying at a Disney, on property hotel, typically one park will open an hour earlier every day, and I say typically because sometimes it's not every day, but typically one park will stay open, maybe 2 hours later, for a particular night. And, a lot of times people will want to go to the parks on those extra magic hours, and rightfully so. But, a lot of times we actually recommend people don't go to those parks on those days because they tend to be more crowded. Plus, the average, on average, the parks open around 9. Sometimes, depending on the year, like Magic Kingdom could open at 8. And if they have extra magic hours in the morning, that means that they're opening up at 7 a.m. So, unless you're a family like mine that's going to wake up as early as possible to get to the park as soon as it opens, that might, I don't want to suggest someone go to Magic Kingdom because it has extra magic hours in the morning between 7 and 8 or between 8 and 9, when they tell me, you know what, they have to get up, they have to eat breakfast, and they're not the earliest risers, and they might not get there till 9:30. Well, you're just going to go to a park that's already going to be more crowded by the time you get there. So, we try and structure it. I actually do it based on dining. I always do dining first. And if it happens to be that we schedule some, a day or two with extra magic hours, great. If not, I actually kind of think that it benefits people not to go there. Not all the time, but on certain times of the year, it doesn't. I don't think that it actually helps. I think it actually hurts.
What are the super crowd pleasers? Especially when people come back and didn't have an expectation about something, but said, "Wow, this was incredible! I had no idea it would be this cool."
Yeah, well, it's typically the newer type things. So, like right now, the big craze is Pandora, which is the Avatar land in Animal Kingdom. Disney opened that park last May. And there's actually only 2 rides there. One's called Avatar Flight of Passage. The other's called the Na'vi River Journey. The Avatar Flight of Passage is very similar to a ride called Soarin', which is in Epcot. We actually call it Soarin' on steroids because it's Soarin' to like another extreme. It's a 4D experience. You're on this motorcycle type of a harness where it's actually you're pretending that you're riding one of the banshees from the movie, and it's actually flying you through the world of Pandora. It's really, really incredible. The problem is it's the newest craze, so I mean, even if you're getting there at 9 or 9:30 or right when the park opens, I mean, that ride we've seen 3 to 4 hour lines within the first hour of the park being open. It's really, really crazy. The other really popular thing right now is anything Star Wars, and especially there's a great Star Wars activity in Hollywood Studios that's called Jedi training. For that, the kids have to be at least 4 years old, and it's a class that you sign up for, and they actually give them robes and lightsabers, and they pretend that they're training to become Jedi, and they actually will fight against Darth Vader or Kylo Ren or some of the other villains from some of the other Star Wars movies. The only thing about that experience, and this is another thing that sometimes people don't know this, is it's not you can't fast pass it, and the only way to sign up for a class is to actually go to the park on that day. So if the park's opening at 9, we basically tell people you need to be there either at 9 or as close to 9 as possible, because probably within the first 30 to 45 minutes, it's possible that all the classes might get filled up for the whole day. And, obviously, when you have kids that are really into Star Wars and they're really looking forward to that experience, we want to make sure that they obviously get to enjoy it. So I can't really say that anyone that I've ever had has ever missed a Jedi training class, because they've always followed they've always been pretty good with following our tips and when to go and kind of how to navigate that park. But it's a really, really fun experience. And that's probably the one thing between that and the Pandora and maybe a couple of rides here and there. But the Jedi training is really popular right now with a lot of families.
All right. And with that, we're out of time. So let's give that the information for people on the tail end of the show. We were listening to the great tips and advice and strategies from Eric Paul from bestdisneytrips.com. You got to check out his website. They're on Facebook, Twitter. His email is journey365@yahoo.com. And you can give him a call at 516-551-8053. Thanks for listening. And by the way, for those who went to Starfleet Academy, we'll have to see how the two schools compare. Anyway, thanks for listening. Eric, a pleasure. You'll have to come back for another show because...
Would love to. Thanks so much for having me, Rich.
There's just so much to talk about. And I can't wait to fly down to Florida and eat all the food and kind of do a show live there with you. So anyway, we'll see you all in a week. Thanks for listening.